So we are about halfway through the year, and what a year it has been so far. My goodness, we've got a ton of exciting commanders so far this year, and I thought it'd be fun to take a look back and see, out of all the commanders that have come out this year, which ones are the most popular commanders so far. So for the 3 new sets that we've gotten so far with new commanders, I'm going to go through the top 5 commanders from each of those sets. So that said, let's jump into it. So first up from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, we have the absolute powerhouse Isshin to Heavens as 1. Isshin absolutely exploded on the scene, and players, well, as you can tell, are very excited about this one. Isshin already has 5,318 decks to its name, according to EDH Rec. And of course, after seeing Isshin, it's no wonder that it's a popular commander, a 3/4 Human Samurai for red, white, black. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So this is the ultimate attack Harmonicon commander. And when I say the Harmonicon, it's basically, Panharmonicon, like Yarok is, Panharmonicon commander, Death Harmonicon is Teysa Karlov, and just like those commanders have been popular, yeah, doubling up on a trigger is apparently, the right formula for a popular commander, and one that is very powerful as well. And when I say the ultimate attack Harmonicon commander, I mean we have seen Wolfgar in the past, basically do attack Harmonicon, but that was just one-sided essentially because Isshin triggers off of any creature attacking. So if you've got any kind of a permanent that cares about your opponents attacking, even, it counts those triggers as well. And yeah, there's some really spicy and really powerful things that you can do with this. So yeah, it's not all that surprising this Mardu commander really took off again. 5,000 decks already, only halfway through the year. Very impressive. Next up, right behind Isshin though, we've got Go-Shintai of Life's Origin at 4,737 decks. This is one of the very few 5-color commanders from this year, and of course this one is, well, quite the potent commander, and one that has a theme that many players have been waiting for quite some time with shrines. It's a 3/4 legendary enchantment creature shrine that costs 3 in red, and it has pay Wooburg, tap, return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And on top of that, whenever it or another non-token shrine enters the battlefield on your control, create a 1/1 color shrine enchantment creature token. This is a very powerful effect, allowing you to increase your shrine count incredibly quickly, and yeah, once you get a certain amount of shrines on the board, your shrines can do some very, very, very powerful things. On top of Go-Shintai being able to actually get your shrines back, or your other enchantments back, and yeah, obviously there's different directions that you can build this, though the most popular version is definitely Shrines Tribal. This commander obviously had a lot of players very excited about the potential for a 5-color Shrines deck. And if you've ever gone up against one of these, well, then you know that they can be quite potent. Next up from the Kamigawa Commander Precon decks, we've got Shorikai Genesis Engine. Shorikai is an 8/8 legendary artifact vehicle that costs 2 white-blue. It has pay 1, tap, draw 2 cards, then discard a card, create a 1/1 colorless pilot creature token with this creature crew's vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. It has a crew cost of 8 and obviously can be your commander as well. So outside of an MDFC commander, this is technically our very first vehicle commander, and yeah, players were very excited about this, and what's not to love about a giant mech commander? Especially one that can provide you a ton of card advantage throughout the game and really take advantage of untap effects to draw you more and more cards and make you more and more pilots. And while of course you can demolish your opponents with a vehicle tribal deck with this commander, you can also just utilize this massive commander itself to demolish your opponents too. So whether players are taking this in a Voltron direction or a vehicle tribal direction or whatever other direction they want to take it, Shorikai Genesis Engine is definitely a popular commander that many players of course have been very excited about. Moving on though, we've got an incredibly heavy hitter this year with Hinata Dawn Crown, and there are already 3,628 decks according to H-Rec built around this commander. A 4/4 Kieran Spirit with Flying and Trample that costs 1 blue, red, white, but more importantly, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each target. And of course, on top of that, spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more to cast for each target. I've said this before and I'll say it again, this is one of those commanders that, at first looks like, oh, that's a pretty cool commander with a very cool effect. And the more and more that you look into it, the more and more busted this commander is. The amount of cost reduction with this is absolutely absurd, especially with X mana target spells. Something like a Heliod's Intervention can basically just get rid of all of your opponent's artifacts and enchantments for just 2 mana because you don't have to pay to target anything, because Hinata just discounts that for every single target. And of course, on top of all that and all the absurd things that you can do with that, it also is protected from target removal and can really shut down certain cards. I mean, think about trying to cast an Aether Gale into this. Instead of having to pay, say, 5 mana to bounce 6 permanents, well, if they're going to be targeting your permanents, they've got to pay 11 mana to do so. Hinata also can utilize some very off-the-wall cards and do some really exciting things, but yeah, this commander is busted, and it's a very popular commander so far, again, with over 3,000 decks this year. And speaking of commanders that you've got to watch out for, let's talk about the final commander that I'm bringing up today from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, the 5th most popular commander from that set, with Satoru Umezawa at 3,555 decks. Satoru is a 2/4 human ninja that costs 1 blue-black, and it has: whenever you activate a ninjutsu ability, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This ability triggers only once each turn. And while that is nice, the more important part of this card is each creature card in your hand has ninjutsu for 2 blue-black. Basically, get any of your creatures through in combat, and then any creature in your hand only costs 4 mana to sneak into play unblocked. And of course, there are plenty of incredibly disgusting massive creatures out there that cost a ton of mana because they're so disgusting, but again, you just have to pay 4 mana to get them right into play. I'm talking about Praetors, I'm talking about Eldrazi, I'm talking about Blightsteel Colossus for just 4 mana. Even without ramping, this commander can take players out incredibly early, and yeah, I mean, just picture a turn 4 Blightsteel Colossus coming your way. So yeah, there's a reason this commander is a very popular one so far, and one that you should be pretty afraid of. Moving on to Streets of New Capenna, and actually I'm showing 2 of these really quick because I probably should have made this disclaimer earlier, but I am not counting face commanders for precons in this list. And the reason for that is that their numbers can be decently skewed because some players just, well, maybe open the precon and then just put the entire precon list into a deck website, and then that is kind of skewing the numbers because they're not technically really building the deck, they're just throwing in the precon, which is fine. I've got nothing against that. It's just that it kind of skews how popular a commander is to build around. So for face commanders like Analo the Painter and Henzi Toolbox Torre, I am not going to be including those. Regardless, although it was not a face commander of a precon, one that has even more decks built around it so far is Giada Fawn of Hope at 2,461. This mono white commander is incredibly exciting for Angel Tribal fans. A 2/2 angel with flying and vigilance that costs 1 and a white, and it says each other angel you control enters the battlefield with additional +1 counter on it for each angel you already control. And she can tap to add a white and spend this mana only to cast an angel spell. So this is a low to the ground commander that can help ramp you to actually get your angels out, and the more and more angels you get out, the more powerful they're going to become. It's a very interesting and very effective take on an Angel Tribal commander, and obviously there are plenty of Angel Tribal fans out there that seem to be really excited about this brand new commander. A Giada deck can hit very hard, and yeah, if you haven't seen my deck tech on this one yet, make sure you check it out at some point. That being said, one other thing that I will mention is that obviously the numbers for these upcoming commanders are going to be slightly lower because Streets of New Capenna came out in April, and very end of April I should say, whereas Kamigawa Neon Dynasty came out in the middle of February, so obviously those commanders have had more time to be built around. That being said, for being out for less than 2 months, yeah, 2,461 decks is a ton. And coming in right behind Giada and another commander that you've really got to look out for, let's talk about Jetmir Nexus of Revels, which comes in at 2,235 decks. It's a 5/4 cat demon that costs 1 red, green, white, and it says creatures you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance as long as you control 3 or more creatures. Creatures you control also get +1/+1 and have trample as long as you control 6 or more creatures. And creatures you control get +1/+1 and have double strike as long as you control 9 or more creatures. So essentially, the more and more creatures you have in play, the better this effect becomes, ultimately being a +3/+0 with vigilance, trample, and double strike. And of course, in these colors, there are plenty of ways to flood the board with tokens very quickly and sometimes out of nowhere. And yes, you can get to 9 creatures pretty easily. And when you do, even your smallest creature, even a 1/1 token, is going to be a 4/1 vigilant, trample, double striking terror. 8 damage just from a tiny token, and of course that's just the start of it. Regardless, this aggressive commander has gotten a ton of players excited about flooding the board and swinging away. And if you're up against a Jetmir player, make sure you are careful. Moving on, we've got Rafine's Scheming Seer coming in at 2,109 decks. It's a 1/4 Sphinx Demon with flying in Ward 1 that costs white, blue, black. It says whenever you attack, target attacking creature connives X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. And again, connive is a new keyword from this set. Draw X cards and discard X cards, play +1 counter on that creature for each non-land card discarded this way. So, like Jet Mirror, this commander also benefits you from swinging away with a ton of creatures. But in this way, you're going to grow one creature to get a lot larger while also getting a ton of card selection with that connive. To be honest, it's actually a commander that I did not think would be anywhere near this popular so far, but obviously a lot of players out there are really excited about it. Next up, we've got yet another one of the heads of one of the crime families from Streets of New Capenna with Zeator the Incinerator. And Zeator comes in just under 2,000 decks at 1,882. It's a 6/6 demon dragon with flying that costs 3 black, red, green, and it says, at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, Zeator the Incinerator deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target, and you create 3 treasure tokens. Essentially, hey, fling something at someone, and yeah, here's some treasures for doing so. And as I can tell you from personal experience from my Hotline Fling deck built around Mr. Orfeo, flinging creatures at players, especially when they're massive creatures, is a lot of fun. And of course, there are plenty of players out there that also like that treasure aspect as well, so yeah, it's not really all that surprising that Zeator is seeing so much play so far. And next up, our final new Capenna commander is Tivit, Seller of Secrets. This commander comes in at 1,515, and yeah, this is a really spicy commander that utilizes a mechanic that I did not think ever would be utilized for a commander, but here we are. It's a 6/6 Sphinx Rogue with flying in Ward 3 that has Council's Dilemma. When it enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, starting with you, each player votes for evidence or bribery. For each evidence vote, investigate. For each bribery vote, create a treasure token. While voting, you may vote an additional time. So basically, when this ETBs or hits a player, you are most likely going to be getting 2 treasures and 3 clues. And again, I say most likely because yes, there are some scenarios your opponents might not give you a clue and give you a treasure instead, and there's other scenarios where you might take a clue, but yeah, that's probably how it's going to go down. And that is an incredibly powerful thing, and there are some really broken things that you can do with that, and of course there's a lot of fun cards that you can use with this commander that utilize voting and help you get additional votes or be able to control votes, etc, etc, etc. So yeah, this is definitely a unique commander and one that I am not surprised to see on this list. But finally we get to our most recent set with Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate, which just came out on June 10th. Not long ago at all, and my goodness, this commander already has 2,000 decks to its name. Yeah, Miriam, whatever your name is, Sentinel Worm, you are quite popular so far, and I can only imagine it's going to get more and more and more popular. It's a 6/6 Dragon Sphere with flying in Ward 2 that costs 3 green, blue, red. It says, whenever another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of it, except that token isn't legendary if the dragon is legendary. This commander definitely didn't need that Ward 2. Not sure why that was put on there, but yeah, this is an incredibly powerful effect, and players out there love Dragon Tribal. I mean, I think Dragon Tribal is the 3rd most popular tribe out there. Just looked it up on EDH Rec. Apparently Dragon Tribal recently has passed Elf Tribal for the 2nd place spot, and that is definitely because of this commander. Doubling up on every single one of your dragons is ridiculous, especially when you can double up on legendary dragons as well. That, can then, clone that non-legendary version of a legendary dragon and get even more, and this is going to get incredibly gross and incredibly powerful, and yeah, there's a reason why this commander is so popular so far. I mean, again, it's only been out like 2 or 3 weeks at this point. It has over 2,000. That is absurd. And just to show you how absurd that is, the next most popular commander, which is still very popular for only being out 2 or 3 weeks, is Myrkul, Lord of Bones at 948. 1,000 decks in that amount of time is a big deal as well. And yeah, of course, there's a reason why many players are excited about this commander. A 7/5 god for 4 white, black, green that says, as long as your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, Myrkul, Lord of Bones has indestructible. Whenever another creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's an enchantment and loses all other card types. There are plenty of creatures out there that you actually really don't care, what they are. You just care about what they do. You don't care about their stats. You just really want them on the field because they have some kind of an effect or an ability that you really want to use and abuse. So this commander essentially can get you that creature back so they're twice as hard to deal with, and the second time that they come back, they're an enchantment and not a creature, which is a lot harder to deal with. And of course, on top of that, you can go in a combo route with this commander or an abuse ETB route because, yeah, you're getting that creature back into play. There's a lot of different exciting things that you can do with this commander, and I am definitely not surprised that it's already seeing so much play. Moving on, we've got Tasha the Witch Queen at 870 decks so far. Tasha is a Planeswalker that can be your commander that has 4 starting loyalty and costs 3 blue and a black. She has whenever you cast a spell you don't own, create a 3/3 black demon creature token. Her +1 is draw a card for each opponent, exile up to 1 target insert sorcery card from that player's graveyard and put a page counter on it. And her -3 is you may cast a spell from on cards and exile page counters on them without paying its mana cost. So this commander can get you access to your opponent's spells and benefits you when you are casting them. And of course, outside of permanent abilities, there are other ways to actually cast your opponent's spells, and yeah, there's a lot of value you can get out of this commander. And just overall, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of players out there that like to play their opponent's things. I mean, just take a look at how popular Villainous Wealth is in basically any Sultai deck. So yeah, there's definitely a reason that many players are very excited about Tasha the Witch Queen. Next up, we've got yet another Planeswalker commander from this set with Elminster. And Elminster, of course, can be your commander, and it comes in at 745 decks. He starts off at 5 starting loyalty and costs 3 white-blue. He has whenever you scry, the next insert sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast for X the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. His +2 is draw a card, then scry 2, and his -3 is exile the top card of your library, create a number of 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature tokens with flying equal that card's mana value. So first up, yeah, you can utilize a lot of massive scry effects to get a ton of value out of massive instant sorceries. And speaking of massive spells, well, Elminster can turn any massive spell that's on top of your library into a ton of 1/1 flyers. Which, of course, with all the scrying, you can easily set the top of your library to the right card. And pretty much any commander that can utilize a card like Draco in a hilarious fashion like this, in this case, making you 16 1/1 flyers for just 1 activation, is going to be quite popular with a lot of players out there. But the final commander that I'm talking about today, and the 5th most popular commander from this set so far, and I'm so excited that this commander made the list, is Raggadragga, Gorgut's boss. And again, I've said this before, my apologies if I'm mispronouncing that name. Raggadragga comes in at 716 decks already, and yeah, like myself, many other players out there are excited about this adorable human boar. It's a 4/4 that costs 2 red, green, and it has each creature you control with a mana ability gets +2/+2. Whenever a creature you control a mana ability attacks, untap it, and whenever you cast a spell, if at least 7 mana is spent to cast it, untap target creature, it gets +7/+7 against trample until end of turn. So this commander is all about mana dorks. It pumps them, and it helps you untap them when they attack. So go get your mana dorks out there, go get your Llanowar Elves, your Birds of Paradise, and get aggressive with them. Or, you can also go in some kind of a goofy combo version of the deck where you just try to cast, maybe some kind of a janky spell like Sun Crusher again and again and again. Yeah, that can be a different direction for it as well. But yeah, I think most players out there are probably most excited about this for a, just typical Mandork build. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting things that you can do with this one. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are. And as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.